storytelling is the data of our souls, so I'm going to tell a story. It happened not far from here in a government department, not unlike this one. Was a young man. He was sitting at his desk. I'm going to talk really quickly because we're all in a hurry. Minding his own business when a colleague asked him, "Where do you come from?" The man replied, "I'm from Masterton." The colleague sighed, "No, come on, where do you really come from?" The young man replied, "Okay, I'm from Masterton, but we moved from Carterton when I was 5. By this time, the colleague, whom he barely knew, was angry and aggressively told the young man to grow up. He's not so young, actually, because he's in this room. The man then went on to inquire about where other workmates came from. But here's the thing, he didn't ask any Pākehā New Zealanders or European New Zealanders where they came from. The young man sat at his desk for a few minutes, then got up and went over to his colleague and asked, "Excuse me, but where do you come from?" And the colleague quickly replied, "I'm from New Zealand, of course, I'm a Kiwi." And the young man said, "Me too, I'm a 4th generation New Zealander, I'm a Kiwi." The young man is a Chinese New Zealander whose ancestors helped build this country and who first arrived here in the late 1800s. Call it what you like, but assuming that only Pākehā-looking people are New Zealanders is not just offensive, it's also ignorant, but unfortunately it's the kind of assumption many Kiwis do all the time. When I go out to talk to communities, particularly clubs like Rotary or Probus, I often get asked what I'm going to do to make sure they fit into our country. And when I say, "Who do you mean by they?" I ask, "The migrants." People will reply, and I say, "Well, do you mean the English migrants, the Canadian migrants, the Australian or the white South African ones? Or do you just mean migrants who don't look like you and me?" The visually diverse as May describes these people. When we assume people who don't look like us aren't New Zealanders, we are telling them that they don't belong here as much as we do. We're telling them that we are normal and they are not. And we are telling them that we have more rights than they have. This is how marginalisation, alienisation and discrimination starts. And it's up to us to whether we encourage it or challenge it. I think we need to be very honest with ourselves when it comes to talking about diversity and race relations. So often people accuse me of being PC gone mad and shutting down the conversation, but the opposite is actually true. I think it's time we talked openly and honestly about how we treat each other. Is it okay to have an advertisement that says no Asians need apply? Is it okay to end a job interview because a young woman is wearing a headscarf? Is it okay to tell someone to go back to where they came from if they dare complain about anything? He wouldn't tell Lydia Ko to go home, would he? I don't think it's okay, and I think it's time for Kiwis to talk about how we treat each other, whether it's with respect and mana, or whether it's with fear and contempt that parts up to us. We live in one of the most ethnically diverse nations on the planet, and every year 1/3 of the complaints we receive are about racial abuse, intolerance and discrimination. We're all responsible for the kind of country we live in and the kind of country we leave behind us. Superdiversity Stocktake is an important tool. We need to help map our nation's next 200 years. If we care about the kind of country our children and grandchildren live in, we need to start planning now. And that's what May is challenging all of us to do. Government must put in place a multicultural policy that is based upon a foundation of a bicultural nation. I'm also calling out our MPs to stand up for victims of racial abuse, to stand by their side and to speak out against racial intolerance. Why? Because when an unjust, racist incident hits the headlines, very often I am one of a handful of people who publicly stand up for the person who's been abused. Our leaders need to speak out publicly. They need to let that person know that he or she is not alone. They need to thank them for going public, because every incident helps raise public awareness. They need to publicly condemn rising instances of racial abuse, because it is rising. Just because race relations is in my job description, it doesn't mean it's just my responsibility. As I said, we're all responsible for the kind of country we live in. Finally, if you believe what you read, and you read the New Zealand Herald, you would believe that I'm the Grinch that stole Christmas. But I would like to assure you that I'd have no plans nor enough power to ban Christmas or any other sacred or religious day. I've never have said that we or any organisation should ban Christmas. I am the Race Relations Commissioner, I'm not the Christmas Relations Commissioner. New Zealand will shut down on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and again on Good Friday and Easter Sunday in a few months' time. This is because the overwhelming majority of New Zealanders are Christians. This is how we do things in New Zealand, and it's not likely to change any day soon. How we choose to celebrate Christmas must be up to New Zealanders to decide. A lot of us are agnostics. Many of us are non-practicing Christians. We all celebrate Christmas in our own ways, and long may that continue. I never said we or anyone else should ban Christmas, and I never would. What I did say is that it's up to everyday New Zealanders to decide how to observe Christmas, and no one else. The Auckland Regional Migrant Services Trust, which I am a patron of, prefers to use non-religious, secular language when inviting communities to attend some of their events, because they do not want non-Christians to think that they aren't included in the invitation. Their choice of language is about inclusion, not exclusion. I was brought up in the Catholic Church, and Christmas for my family will always be based on those beliefs and customs passed down through my family. That's what works for us. Today of all days, I would urge Kiwis to chill out and relax, as we have many more important human rights issues to worry about. Today marks White Ribbon Day. In our small nation, New Zealanders face 200 domestic violence incidents every day. This is the human rights issue New Zealanders need to get angry and upset about, and something I would gladly ban if I could. Peace on Earth is a well-known Christmas message, and when it comes to peace on Earth, New Zealand is right up there. We all need to recognise that peace on Earth isn't just something for us to pray for, it's up to all of us to action.